Hey, Hound Dogs, I'm David Hankins.
I'm Paul Hankins.
I'm Trevor Hankins.
And you're on the air with Power Squared. Tonight, it's Friday, the 20th of June, and we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of Jaws, which came out on this day back in 1975.
Yes.
Of the three of us, I was the only one that was alive at that point. And I honestly did not see it in the theater when it first opened. I don't know why exactly. It just wasn't. I like movies. I just didn't go see it.
Right.
I don't know. I did see it later in the theater. I think on not a revival house, but some theater was showing it, and a friend said, "Hey, you got to see it." So we went to see it, and we've seen it a couple of times on video.
Yeah.
So we can at least intelligently talk about the movie because we've actually seen it.
Funny thing is, this DVD is from the 25th anniversary.
Wow. Yeah, now, I don't know if he was trying to get another, like a Blu-ray or a 4K of that or not. I don't even know if it's available,
I don't know.
honestly.
Anyway,
So if you don't know, the movie Jaws was directed by Steven Spielberg. I think I've heard his name mentioned before.
Wasn't this his second?
Yeah, he had done sort of a TV movie, The Duel, I
Yeah.
believe. And it's based on a novel by Peter Benchley, who, remember, we've seen some Robert Benchley shorts.
Yeah.
That's his grandson.
All right.
It's kind of an interesting fun fact. It starred Roy Scheider as Police Chief Martin Brody,
Yes.
Robert Shaw as Quint, a professional shark hunter,
Yes.
Richard Dreyfuss, early in his career, as Matt Hopper, a marine biologist. Murray Hamilton played the mayor, Larry Vaughn, and Lorraine Gary, was Brody's wife, Ellen. Sorry, I can't read my own writing or read my own typing.
Apparently.
Yeah. The movie didn't follow the book exactly. There was a lot of stuff in the, what you consider the first two acts that were subplots that Spielberg wanted to get rid of.
Yeah, I was doing research myself. I read that they made some changes to story and characterization.
Right.
It's like in the book, they were more unlikable.
Yeah, I heard that too. and there was a mafia land thing, and I guess Hopper has an affair with Brody's wife.
Yeah.
So made a lot of stuff that really didn't, I guess, for the movie that it became, it wasn't really necessary for it.
No.
And I guess I didn't realize, I have not read the book, honestly, but 120 pages of the book is the shark hunt.
Well,
Which I don't know how long the book is, but that's a lot of pages dedicated to what is the third act of the film.
yeah.
And what the film is really kind of mostly, I would say, known for.
Yeah.
The film didn't follow the book. The principal photography started on May 2nd and didn't end until October 6th of 1974. It was 159 days. It was supposed to be a 55-day shoot. The budget went from $4 million to $8 million because of it, and a lot of it had to do with this mechanical shark.
Yeah, they ran into a lot of problems with the mechanical shark because it would break down constantly. So that's why they did a lot of the shark POV
Right,
stuff, which actually made it better.
right.
yes.
And, surprisingly, the shark is not in that much of the movie, per se.
Yeah.
And I'll say NBC has been like hyping the fact they're showing it tonight on NBC with commercials.
So it'll be like 3 hours.
And but they were talking to some of the people that were actually in the movie who were local Martha Vineyard,
Martha's Vineyard.
residents. And one of them, when they were kids, they would play on the shark. So he goes, maybe that had something to do with the fact it didn't work. But they didn't know, they were kids. The budget was $9 million, and it made $476.5 million at the box office, which is equivalent to about over about $2 billion, which is a lot of money.
Yeah.
It was nominated for Best Picture, didn't win, and I don't remember what won for Best Picture that year, to be honest with you. It won for Best Original Score by John Williams.
Yeah.
And we would use the score here if we weren't afraid of a copyright infringement.
Yeah.
Best Film Editing by Verna Fields. A lot of people compare the editing to Psycho and how good it was and everything. And Best Sound, John Carter, Roger Herman, Robert L. Hoyt, and Earl Mederi, if you're watching or listening. I want to give everybody a little credit when you win an Academy Award. But anyway, so the film was, I guess, not the primary film they were making at Universal at the time.
Yeah.
I read they were more excited about the Hindenburg film with George C. Scott, who was a much more famous actor than Spielberg was a director at the time.
Yeah.
And they didn't really know what they had until they did a screening. And apparently they did a sneak in Dallas. Again, I didn't know. And I would think I was like 15 or something. So I would have been 15. They didn't realize what they had until the audience got behind. Was really excited by it, and they put money into ads, and they suddenly, I guess, released this on this day. Today's the first day of summer here now, but at the beginning of summer, and it was huge. And
Yeah.
it was number one for the whole summer, 14 weeks. Which then the next year was Star Wars.
Yeah.
And so you sort of see like,
It
hey,
was like 2 years later.
something like. Well, anyway, it seemed like for a while Spielberg and Lucas were switching off summers
Yeah.
to have the big movie, and everybody was whoa.
Yeah.
So, a lot of times people credit this for being the first summer blockbuster film and starting that whole idea of releasing the big budget films.
Yeah. It was the first one, and then Star Wars kind of cemented blockbusters.
Yeah, and I think the difference over time, it seems like now there's like every week is a blockbuster or two coming out.
Yeah.
And so you can't really keep up with it like it wasn't just, I had to see Jaws, but now you got to see this and this and that, or you're supposed to at least want to see every film that comes out. So there's like 2 or 3, let's say at least 2 blockbusters every week, unless they're somebody that's so big everybody's afraid of it. But usually it's like 2 a week now instead of 1 for the summer. It's like your run is like 3 or 4 weeks at the most.
Yeah, so a lot of the time it's like, I don't care.
They're kind of been oversaturating the blockbuster market.
Yeah, and then the other thing too is this was it started out as a $4 million film and it ended up being $9 million budget, which probably may include the advertising they did. And it made so it was a blockbuster because it made so much more than what they put into it. I'm sure it's, with the accounting principles, not profitable yet. But,
so now they spend that much money making the movie.
Yeah, and then they wanted to make $1 billion at the box office, and that's where you get diminishing returns, I think.
Yeah. Like, you didn't have to make a movie that cost that much.
The movies are,
and then sometimes you see what the budget is, and like, does it look like it cost that much?
Yeah, I know, and it's always, and this also in some ways started the trend too of you gotta have 3. There was a Jaws 2 and then a Jaws 3.
Yeah.
And
I think there might have been a 4th one.
There was a 4th one.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it did get diminishing returns each time.
Yeah, and they cost more each time too, because you got to pay the actors a little bit more than they did last time. The director, everything goes up in price, and you make less.
And
it actually got to the point where Back to the Future 2 had a joke about like a Jaws
19.
That's right. Yeah.
This time it's really, really personal.
Was it like a holographic?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of. It's really you want everybody who makes a film wants it to break big. You don't make a film. Hey, I hope nobody sees it.
Yeah. And something I've seen pointed out multiple times is like Blumhouse makes movies that cost little,
Right.
and they always profit.
Well, that's also yeah.
They're making low budget horror most of the time.
Right, and I remember I took the RKO class at SC, and the teacher, the professor, was always saying that there's always the Universal counted on the fact that there were always kind of nuts out there that would watch any horror film they put out. So yeah, horror is but they don't make $2 billion at the box office. They make a profit, and that's kind of what you would hope studios would do, is make more films that are sort of, a good, a small, medium-sized budget, not these $200 million films.
Yeah.
And that aren't going to make the money back, and you kind of wonder, why did you spend the money on that?
Yeah.
But if you made a film that was $20 million, I mean, probably a lot of unknowns. You're probably not paying people.
Yeah.
But, some people make $20 million a film, or they used to, at least.
And, since we're still talking about movies in general, the current system is also pushed out mid-budget.
Yeah. And that's where somebody like Blumhouse can come in with, I assume, are small to medium-sized budgets.
Yeah.
And you make something that people want to see, and it'll make its money back, And so it's not a blockbuster, but it's a profitable movie.
Yeah.
There's a feeling that Hollywood is relying, or every studio relies on the franchise they have to bring in the money. I mean, when I was at MGM, it was very lean years between Bond films.
Yeah.
And, suddenly you'd make, and Bond, by comparison to something like Star Wars or Titanic, was not huge. They'd make a lot of money, but they weren't, $1 billion guaranteed worldwide, or like Spider-Man 2 when that came out, made $400 million in the first weekend, or 3 came out and made that much. So yeah, you kind of, the tendency now is to rely on the big budget summer movie to bring the profits in.
I think one reason, as far as like blockbusters go, I think one reason Jaws holds up well is because of its use of practical effects.
Right. We should talk a little bit about, the story, I guess.
I was actually going to say we should talk about the movie itself.
Right.
Yes.
So what is Jaws about?
Well, it's about...
I mean, it's probably known by now, but just for the sake.
Yeah, it's is it 4th of July weekend?
Yes.
Which would be timely at the time it came out.
Yeah.
And a small town that's reliant on tourists coming to the beaches finds itself being attacked by a overly huge great white shark.
And a rogue shark.
Right.
Yes.
And they try to downplay it because it's not good for tourism to say, come to the beach and get eaten.
Yeah.
And that's where this Mayor Vaughn is sort of renowned for, like, everything's great, you know. Don't look at the thrashing in the water. Everything's great.
And they try to fake out, look, we got the shark, but it wasn't actually the...
Yeah. Oh, they're hoping. That's what you always hope you can get it quickly.
Yeah,
And
so then it turns out they got the wrong shark.
Right.
So basically a ragtag.
Yeah, and then you've got this Sheriff Brody, who's he's from, or police chief. He's from New York City. Probably walked the beat. He's not, he doesn't. I believe he doesn't even like the water.
Right.
But he's police chief on this little island or inlet or whatever, and he has to. He's in charge of trying. His idea is you do the right thing. You say, hey, there's a shark out there. Try to warn people, stay out of the water. But the mayor and the city council kind of overrides him because, we're all dependent on the tourist trade.
Yeah. We need the 4th of July.
Yeah.
The mayor is very short-sighted.
Yes. And that's where you get into, people, as an example of corruption and this, you can't trust politics and all that kind of stuff, are the politicians because they'll do whatever they can to make a profit. So they end up finally hiring this guy Quint, who's a crotchety old guy,
Like he's seen some stuff.
Yeah, you're in the water, sharks in the water, He guarantees he'll bring the shark back but he's not prepared for how big the thing is either.
Yeah.
And then you got this guy shows up who's probably would be considered liberal. You know, you got to take care of the shark. Kind of, his idea is to try to. He's a marine biologist, and he wants to hopper, and he wants to make sure that they're just not killing indiscriminately.
Yeah.
And he's, comes from a well-to-do family, so he's got all this really bitchin' equipment that this little city can't afford, right? And Quint doesn't have. And so the three of them go out to hunt the shark.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you're right, it's a ragtag group of guys. And, you kind of see them, they kind of...
during the hunt, they kind of bond.
That's the word I'm trying to find. Yeah, and they talk about the scars and all that, the stuff, and horror stories and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So they bond, and then
It's like they feel like real people.
Right. Yeah, and you kind of, they're not like superheroes. They bleed and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so you kind of feel like these are like three guys who are just thrown together and going out to try to save. Save the village.
Yeah.
And they all don't come back.
Yeah.
But and that's where the film really gets exciting is the hunt and the fight for survival. And you get Brody is down to the last possible inch of breathable air or whatever. When he finally kills the shark.
Yeah.
Oops. Yeah, he kills the shark. So if you're watching it on NBC tonight, you're gonna be like, "Oh man, what time the shark got killed?"
I would say the character writing is another reason the movie holds up well.
Yeah.
Yeah. These are
a bigger reason.
Again, these are real people. They feel very different from each other, and you actually get to know them.
Yeah.
And as they get closer, you care a lot more about who they are.
Well, because then you realize it's the old story of man against nature.
Yeah.
And these are three guys that are set adrift, trying to overcome odds that you can't imagine having to face yourself.
Yeah.
And this shark, and they give Spielberg credit. He wanted to have the shark. Normal big great whites are like 15 feet. He wanted a 25-foot shark because that's like, oh my God, that's really a monster.
Yeah.
And and the film has, there's a real sense that these are real guys, doing the work, doing the gritty work that nobody else can do.
Yeah. And the movie also did a really good job handling the shark.
Mm-hmm.
Is that we've until the final battle, we just maybe get a glimpse of the shark, and otherwise it's these really good shark POV shots that sell how terrifying it is.
Actually, in some ways, it's almost better that the shark is not in there as much because you're it's an unknown thing for so long. You kind of
creates more suspense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you saw the shark running around, eventually go, why don't they just blow it up or shoot it or whatever?
Yeah.
You don't know what this thing is or how big it is until it attached the boat. And you get the famous, you're going to need a bigger boat.
Yeah.
Quote.
In context, that line's also funny.
Oh, yeah. Because he's just throwing chum over and then he looks over.
And there's reality to
You'd be scared too if you saw that.
Yeah.
It's like a deer in the headlights reaction.
He just keeps walking backwards like, oh, you need a bigger boat. Which is probably one of the better quotes from a movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
The other quote that is at least sort of memorable, I looked at IMDb and these quotes were whole dialogues of talk. But the one that you might remember because somebody used it as their production company was Bad Hat Harry.
Yeah.
That's a Bad Hat.
That's on Bad Hat Harry.
Yeah. And there was Bad Hat Harry Productions or something. I forgot what they did. But
Same.
so that got sort of memorialized
Yeah.
as well.
regarding the shark, I want to mention the shark doesn't actually have a name in the movie. Like no one calls him Jaws
Right.
or anything. But internally, while they were filming, they called the shark Bruce.
Gotta give it a name.
So in merchandising, it's either Jaws or Bruce, depending on what they feel like that day.
Right.
Which possibly inspired the name of the shark Bruce in Finding Nemo.
Yeah.
And other fictional sharks named Bruce.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so it was supposed to. The whole ad campaign at the time was you'll be scared to go in the scared to go in the water.
Yeah, you'll be afraid to go in the water.
Right, and which made a lot of people very scared of sharks.
Yes.
And the feeling that, and of course you'll hear about shark attacks in the news, and apparently they seem a little more prevalent than they have been in the past because the waters are warmer and they're coming up closer to shore. Yeah. But they're really not that common still. That you get attacked, you're in the water, you're going to get attacked.
Yeah.
But people had that fear at the time, and I'm sure that had an effect on tourism at beach communities.
Yeah.
That year. And probably there are still people afraid to go in the water because Jaws,
Yeah.
And then it got people fearful of sharks, and they didn't seem to care so much if something bad happened to a shark. Well, better than me, but that also led some people to want to conserve sharks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Over time, it's been understood by more people, at least, that sharks are actually misunderstood.
Mm-hmm.
Like they actually have a social hierarchy, and
Yeah, supposedly they're perfect for what they are designed. They're perfect killing machines for what they're designed to. They're designed to eat.
Yeah.
In the water, and they do that very well.
Although, the public perception of sharks is that they are mindless killing machines.
I said they're mindless, but
right. But I mean that's the general perception. But they're actually far from that. They're more complex.
Right.
My understanding is that this at least applies to great whites. It's like if a shark bites you, you don't want a shark to bite you, but if a shark does bite you, it's more likely they're biting out of curiosity.
They just take away some of your flesh. Hey, there's that little girl that almost lost her hand because a shark bit her. It's in the news now. But yeah, they're not. They supposedly don't want to attack people. That's not their. They're not man-eating sharks. They may eat a man, but that's not their. They're not out there looking for swimmers.
No.
And a small shark is probably more afraid of you than you are of it.
Yeah. Shark populations have gone down, and people have blamed Jaws as being single-handedly responsible for that, but I think we heard on the news from an expert that it was actually something else.
There's other reasons why they were dying off.
Yeah, so it wasn't just the movie putting fear of sharks into people.
Yeah, and I think there's a big gap between fearful of sharks and going out and hunting sharks. There's so yeah, it hopefully, I mean, it's made people more aware of sharks, and I think that's probably a good thing. We don't want to have them go extinct. They do have a purpose in the ocean.
Yeah.
I know that. So, yeah, I don't think I'm really sure that Spielberg didn't set out to. I'm gonna make a movie that will help sharks, but it has done that.
To the movie's credit, they do make sure to establish that the particular shark in the movie was one that went rogue.
Yeah.
Like it's not normal shark behavior.
Yeah, and the idea of sort of using a little bit of science in the story is something that he's used in other films like Close Encounters. There was the part of the promotion advertising leading up to it was, are there really are there a possibility? Well, they try to use a little bit of facts to get you to go, wow, maybe this could happen.
Yeah.
So that's kind of typical in some ways.
Yeah. Another thing about the movie is the John Williams score is actually really good.
Yes.
It's actually very effective despite being just 2 notes.
Yeah, and supposedly I read that Spielberg wasn't impressed when he first heard it. But he sat down and played ding 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 on the piano. He goes, "Is that it?" And basically he said, "Well, imagine it scored," and they actually scored it, and he liked it after that.
Yeah.
And John Williams, probably, I really don't know what he did before, but he seemed to score every Spielberg and Lucas film since that point.
Yeah.
And they're all, a lot of them are really big films, so he's like a really, wow, what a great composer. And they have some. There's always, and then he also, because of that, I think, was also he did the little awards music they would play at the Summer Olympics.
Yeah.
He composed this little. Well, I forgot what it was exactly, but it was something they would play as part of the ceremony. John Williams, it was a big deal that he composed that, and then he went on to be the conductor of the Boston Pops. And still conducts and still writes music, or as far as I know,
composes.
Composes, yeah.
Probably as a testament to how iconic the score is.
Yeah, go ahead.
I actually dug this out. In Skylanders, there's a character Terrafin, I think, if I recall his name is.
Sounds right.
Yeah. He has an attack where he swims underground. He has a move where he swims underground, and he's singing the music.
Yeah, and it seems like every John Williams score has some sort of bit that's always memorable.
Yeah.
Dun 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 dun. Dun kind of Star Wars or whatever. I mean, he has a gift for that. I'll say.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whether or not they're all, I don't know if don't really listen to scores necessarily, so I don't know if they're all like so unique each, but they all seem to have at least a theme that you go, that movie.
Yeah.
Kind of sets the movie.
Yes.
And I guess there was also not only just summer blockbusters, but a ton of shark movies have come out since.
Yes.
Yes. Something that's always stuck with me is James Rolfe has his 2 videos. One of them is top 1 shark movie. It was Jaws.
Yeah.
And then a list of like 40, and then later 50 other like really bad shark movies.
Right. Not too long after that, I should say, there was a movie I remember called Orca that came out.
Yeah.
About a killer whale. And there's just this, well, if one shark will do it, maybe we can have other sharks or other creatures or other unknowns, or, Meg, whatever. That's kind of.
We also got 6 Sharknadoes. They got worse each time.
And they have Shark Week on, wherever that's on Discovery or whatever. Yeah. Every year there's Shark Week, and they just talk about sharks for a week.
Yeah, it's popular because it's sharks.
Yes, and there's a fascination with them, and there's a fascination with things in the ocean. I mean, you can go back to the olden times when they were navigating; they were fearful of what was in the ocean, serpents and all that sort of stuff. So now we kind of have a better idea, but you can always make up something.
Remembering in Yu-Gi-Oh, there's actually in Yu-Gi-Oh's Exile, there's a character named. His nickname Shark. And he plays a shark themed deck, and because of that, in the trading card game, there's an entire archetype that's based around sharks.
Yeah, so it's it started this whole obsession, I guess, with things like that.
Yeah.
Or was at the front end of it. I don't know if it started Shark Week, because of that. But there's just a lot more shark stuff out there now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Than there used to be.
No matter how many shark movies come out, none of them are as good as Jaws.
And part of what's I liked about Jaws, as opposed to let's say I'll say George Lucas film, is there seems to be a little more of like reality in it.
Yeah,
I mean, the fact that and little say kind of little sexuality. I mean, I'm not trying to use that in a bad way, but I mean, there's just a little bit of
it's more grounded.
yeah. I mean, the you see that girl at the very beginning of the film.
Yeah,
You'd want to follow her to the beach. She's hey, let's go skinny dip, and
Yeah.
and the guy's trying to follow her, but he's too drunk.
yeah,
He falls down, and she goes out and gets killed. But I mean, that seemed to be like okay, that could really happen. I mean, this all seems very much that could have happened.
yeah.
And I think a lot of I'll say not all of his films are like that. I guess I'll say that too.
Something I was gonna say, and I'm hoping I don't forget. Yeah, one thing that surprised me last time we saw Jaws is that it was rated PG. I know that was
Yeah.
because PG-13 didn't exist, but I think if it was rated now, it would definitely be PG-13.
Yeah, PG-13 came about because of Spielberg and the
Temple of Doom,
or the first
Indiana Jones.
Jones, or one of the first. I'm not really sure which
Yeah,
one.
I mean, like, it's not necessarily like there's not material in here that could make it R-rated necessarily.
Yeah,
But there's like a dead body
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
and like body parts and
Well, and also one thing that's kind of nice
And a
about
jump scare.
is that they don't show you the mutilated, pieces of whatever
Right.
so much. They don't concentrate on that. A lot of movies nowadays will show you the graphic,
yeah,
If it was made now, it'll probably be a lot more graphic.
possibly,
Yeah.
or it depends on the filmmaker, and maybe the choice would not be to do that.
I'm not assuming that it would be more graphic. It's just there's the possibility that it would be.
Yeah.
Uh,
Audiences are more desensitized now.
yeah. No, I was gonna say another part of Jaws' legacy is that the way the shark is handled influenced how like other antagonists were handled in other media.
Mhm.
Like for example, Final Fantasy VII, the villain Sephiroth. The way they built him up was explicitly influenced by Jaws.
Okay. So you don't see him really for a while. Well, he exists, but he's not prominent until like he needs to be.
Yeah, you get glimpses, you get like mentions and glimpses of him as the game goes on until he becomes more prominent later,
The remake doesn't bother with that.
because everyone knows by now.
Yeah. So there's, it's a very well made film,
Yeah,
and it started with this sort of I'll say fascination with certain directors.
yeah,
I mean, Spielberg. People will go see whatever Spielberg movie comes out. Directors almost became more of the stars,
yeah,
or in the case of George Lucas, I mean, the producer became more of the star than the film itself. In some ways, you'd go see, it's George Lucas's next Star Wars. I gotta go see it,
yeah,
even though he didn't necessarily direct it or write it.
yeah. Jaws also received a video game, Jaws Unleashed.
Yes.
This was
There are other Jaws video games that I played this one in particular.
Okay.
because it's somewhat like GTA, right?
Yeah.
Or at least that's how it was sold.
In this game, you are the shark.
Okay.
Yeah, you are Jaws.
Wow.
It says on
And
that.
and when do you get killed? I mean,
You're well, as Jaws, you're trying to stop the humans from stopping you.
okay.
Yes.
So, it's really good. Humankind.
And something about environmentalism.
Okay.
What did you think of it?
Overall, I thought it was okay. Like, the what kind of killed it for me was the controls.
Those are really awkward.
Yeah, the controls are super awkward. uh, but wanted to mention is that in this game, there are a number of collectibles, and one of them is that if you find all the there are these tin cans you can collect in some levels, and if you collect all of them, you unlock a clip from the movie.
Oh, clever.
I would say those are more worth it.
Right.
I wasn't sure that the other collectibles were worth it personally.
Okay.
One question that I had started trying to answer after we saw Jaws was, did Spielberg peak early?
Well, that's always subjective. I mean, a lot of people think everything he does is great. There's some, I have not seen every movie he's made,
No.
obviously. I mean, is it a little bit like Orson Welles made Citizen Kane? That's your first film, and you kind of go downhill from there. But some people, he's made a fortune on Jurassic Park,
Yes.
and that seems to be a series that won't die for whatever reason. They have to keep regurgitating it every few
You'd
years.
think they would have learned their lesson like 6 movies ago.
Yeah, and there's another blockbuster coming out this year. But again, that blockbuster probably cost a couple $100 million to make.
By they, I meant the character.
Yeah. or why would you keep going back? This has been a disaster every time. Hey, let's do it again.
Yeah.
At some point, you just sort of like defies logic, and you're kind of like, okay, I don't get the premise anymore.
I mean, not saying... I don't think all of Spielberg's movies that I have seen are good. Like, explain Ready Player One.
Yeah. Well,
But he has made other good movies. But
Yeah.
the question is, are how many of them are as good as Jaws?
well,
Or have the same impact as Jaws?
how many would you want to see over and over again?
Yeah.
I can't imagine. Schindler's List, which I have not seen, to me is like you saw it and you don't want to see it again
It
necessarily.
is a good movie. You should see it.
Okay. I'm not saying I don't want to see it. I'm saying it had.
Right.
Part of the reason we didn't watch it is you guys were little kids, and then they showed you got to watch it before I did.
Oh, he did. I
Yeah.
didn't.
Okay.
I saw it in high school for history class.
Right.
And it was a good movie.
Yeah. I mean, so is it better than Jaws?
I guess maybe the problem with trying to answer the question is
That sounds more like apples and oranges.
Yeah, but I mean, if we're
Yeah.
talking about his career, did you think he peaked early?
just thinking about it that way, he probably didn't peak early.
Yeah.
I think Jaws has, as far as like Hollywood goes, Jaws definitely had a lot more of an impact and lasting legacy, for better or worse.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose peaking would be subjective.
I wanted to mention with Jaws' legacy that there's been a lot of merchandising outside of video games. Like, obviously, there's been a lot more legacy support for the anniversary.
Yeah.
But, one thing I found interesting, I wasn't interested in the thing personally, but one thing I found interesting was that for the anniversary, they reissued a tabletop game that was released like around when the movie came out.
Well, there's also because Comic-Con's coming up. There's STCC exclusives, and one of them is a sort of the billboard,
Yeah.
and it's like 9 inches long, and it's $90. Or you can get a badge and a patch for the police department there for $80. I mean,
I think there's also a Lego Jaws set. And there is actually a Nundoroid of the shark, and it gives you the ability to recreate the poster.
well, I mean, so there's a lot of people are nostalgic for 50 years ago how great things were, blah blah blah, but which they weren't, but they're always nostalgic for a time that never was,
Yeah.
and so there people have probably they were also a lot younger when they saw the Jaws the first time, a lot of times.
Yeah.
And it's a really good movie.
Yeah.
For better or worse, it caused a lot of things to move forward. We were talking about this. Every year now there's multiple blockbusters in the summertime.
Yeah.
You take a idea and run it into the ground with the fourth, Jaws.
Yeah.
To appropriate quote from Syndrome, when every movie's a blockbuster, nothing.
Yeah, it showed you the example that a little movie could break big.
Yeah.
And now they want big movies to break bigger.
Yeah. Just with the question about whether Spielberg had peaked, I think that was more of a knee-jerk reaction after rewatching and realizing just how good it is.
Yeah, and some of that comes from you always hear people talk about low budgets and adversity making the movie better somehow. Because you really have to figure out things, and instead of like, oh, we'll fix it in post, you have to like do it then. And you're not going to have a wall full of special effects artists making it, fixing everything or adding out every detail you're trying to shoot it, doing it live, at the time.
Yeah.
You're not depending it. So everything as you see is on the screen.
Yeah.
There's no, they're not manipulating anything. They're not making the shark scarier.
Yeah.
It's as scary as it is. And part of it is the buildup.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a well written script.
Yeah.
And it does sort of build to the point where you're like, wow.
Yeah.
So when you finally see this thing.
So definitely recommend Jaws.
Yes, I'd recommend watching it. If you can't see it in the theater, it's really cool. But if you can't, I would definitely not watch it with commercials if you can avoid that.
Yeah. It's easily one of the best thrillers
Yes.
ever made.
It's I can't imagine the dun 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 commercial. What? So yeah, I wouldn't want to see it with commercial breaks, but it is a good movie. I will say that.
Yeah. Like I said, one of the best.
It's surprisingly good.
Yeah.
And it does hold up. Even watching it, we've watched it 49 years later. And it's still very good.
Yes.
Still holds up.
So I guess that about covers it.
Right. I think we've done the Jurassic 7. We've run it into the ground.
So if you're watching this on YouTube later and you like this, you like, subscribe if you want to see more, and leave a comment below if you have any thoughts on your own about Jaws or Spielberg's career in general.
That's me.
Since we talked about it.
Yes. And Trevor?
If you're looking for a silent fidget toy, use our affiliate code Marty and Eli to save 10% off your purchase at getono.com.
Right. So, until next time, I'm David Hankins.
I'm Paul Hankins.
And Trevor Hankins.
And you've been on the air with Power Squared.